Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. European countries are scrambling to help Ukraine stay warm and keep functioning through the bitter winter months. The countries today pledged to send more support that will mitigate Russia's military's efforts to turn off the heat and lights there. 9 months after Russia's invasion, the Kremlin's forces have zeroed in on Ukraine's power grid and other critical civilian infrastructure. Johns England is Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council.
The Russians are really now having warfare on civilian infrastructure. So an entire population is now increasingly denied electricity, warmth, running water. Shouldn't be like that. The civilian population is supposed to be protected in war, and the Russian bombing is making them suffer beyond belief. I've also seen areas that have been newly retaken by Ukrainian forces, where there hasn't been aid for very many months, and where people actually have been now without electricity, water, warmth, heating for several months.
Officials estimate about 50% of Ukraine's energy facilities have been damaged in recent strikes. France's foreign minister said her country is sending 100 high-powered generators to Ukraine. She said Russia's weaponizing winter and plunging Ukraine's civilian population into hardship. The United Nations Human Rights Council condemned Iran's bloody crackdown on peaceful protests in the country and voted to create an independent fact-finding mission to investigate alleged human rights abuses there, particularly those committed against women and children. Volker Turk is UN High Commissioner for Human Rights.
It pains me to see what is happening in the country. The images of children killed, of women beaten in the streets, of people sentenced to death. The security forces, notably the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Basij forces, have used live ammunition, birdshot and other metal pellets, tear gas and batons. I therefore call for independent, impartial and transparent investigative processes into alleged violations of human rights that are consistent with international standards.
At least 246 people have been killed and more than 17,400 have been arrested, according to the human rights activists in Iran, a group monitoring the civil unrest. Germany and Iceland put forth the resolution. 25 nations backed it, 6 opposed. China, Pakistan, Cuba, Eritrea, Venezuela, and Armenia. 16 abstained. Some experts say the Constitution could be used to disqualify Donald Trump for the 2024 election and are calling on the January 6th committee to do more to ensure that happens. Catherine Carley reports.
The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments in Moore v. Harper, which centers on newly redrawn congressional maps in North Carolina. Republicans argue the state Supreme Court did not have the right to invalidate a previous map. Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren of California laid out her concerns regarding the independent state legislature theory, which contends only state lawmakers can regulate elections without interference from state courts.
If you took the extreme independent legislature theory to the maximum amount, that it could empower state legislatures to essentially decide otherwise. You have a vote, you don't like the result, the legislature appoints who they want.
Legal observers, including the Brennan Center for Justice and the Brookings Institution, say the theory is a meritless interpretation of the Constitution. I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
France has voted to protect abortion rights. Ross Cohen has more.
The bill gathered pace in June after the Roe v. Wade controversy in the US when the Supreme Court overturned its decision to guarantee nationwide abortion rights. French MPs were spurred on to try to ensure that reproductive rights in France would be constitutionally protected. The vote in the lower house was passed with a big majority, more than 330 lawmakers voting in favour and only 32 against, adding the right to access an abortion to the Constitution. Ross Cullen, Paris.
In the U.S., in Georgia, early voting opens tomorrow in the December 6th Senate runoff race between Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock and Republican football star Herschel Walker. Republicans had tried to stop early voting on Saturday, but the state Supreme Court upheld it. Catherine Carley has more.
Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock is encouraging Georgians to vote early in the state's December 6th runoff election.
If you eat on Thursday and shop on Friday, certainly you can vote on Saturday or on Sunday.
I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.